Good morning. How are we? It's a beautiful day here in Melbourne today. It's going to be 20 degrees and sunny, which I just adore. So I'm going to get out and about in a minute. I've got a couple of things to do for clients this morning, and then I'm going to go hit the gym, go for a big walk in the afternoon sunshine. I'm just about to share this into my group. And then we'll get started. All right. Okay. Please say hello when you come on. And I know many of you are going to watch the replay, so I'm going to get stuck straight into it. Okay, so I want to talk to you about some advice I gave to a client yesterday. Actually, before I get started, because there's so many new people coming into my community at the moment, I should introduce myself. My name is Michelle Hext from michellehext.com. I'm a business coach and I specialize in business strategy for coaches. I've been coaching since the early 90s and I've had a very successful coaching business for a couple of decades now. So I've been in this game for a very long time and I know my shit basically, but anyway, let's dive into it. So yesterday I had a client and I'll just frame it for you a little bit. She's struggling. She's got a lot of things on at the moment and I'm pushing her pretty hard to achieve certain things. And I've just been sensing the last few days that I could sense that she was overwhelmed. She was basically in a place of overwhelm. And I quickly jumped on Voxer and let her know my clients have access to me via Voxer in between coaching sessions. And I basically said to her, stop pushing, step back, ask yourself what is the path of least resistance right here, and then take action on that. And the reason I gave her that advice is because sometimes we find ourselves pushing, and that's fine. There are definitely times to hustle in our coaching businesses. There are definitely times to hustle. There's no doubt about that at all. But then there comes a time when there's this point of diminishing returns where the pushing tips over into what feels like a desperate kind of energy. And we never want to be in that place of desperate energy because it negatively affects everything that we do, every conversation we have, every piece of content we go to write. It just gets in the way of all of that stuff. So, as I say, my advice was to just stop because sometimes we can't even see it. You know, we're just so attached to a particular outcome and where we've tipped over from hustle into desperation. And when you start to feel that energy of panic or anxiety or overwhelm or you're just really attached to this thing working out and you find yourself in that place of this has to be the thing that works out. If this isn't the thing that works out, then I'm screwed. You know, a lot of coaches that I used to work with in the early days would come to me in that position where it's like they felt like I was the magic bullet and they would fall into, you know, a coaching program with me basically saying, without saying, I need you to save me and I need you to save my business. And because and as most coaches are, the sort of person who naturally wants to help people, and you know you can help people, right? Logically, it's like, well, if we do this and we do this and we do this, we know that you can get a result with this thing. But you know, there are two types of people that come to coaching, you know, and that type of person is not the person that I coach anymore. Because what I find is there is too much desperate energy and it's very hard to create success when you're in that place. And so the clients that I work with these days, they come to me and sure, they need things to work. I mean, if you're investing the type of money into coaching that my clients are investing, you need to get a return on investment. It's important. It's important to me that my clients get a return on investment. But they're not so desperate that they need the result in the first 5 minutes and that the whole coaching program is hinging on whether they get a result in that moment or not. And so that's why when I have clients that come along and they're overwhelmed and they're struggling, for me the answer isn't to just keep pushing and to keep hustling and to keep following the plan when that's not actually going to get them a result. So then we have the time and the breathing space to be able to step back and say, hang on a minute, you know, it's not life or death here. Let's just slow things down a little bit. Let's just go over the plan again. Let's just have a look at, you know, what things we can eliminate right now. How can we simplify things? What is the path of least resistance? And let's do that. Because sometimes the overwhelm isn't even necessarily the amount of activity that you have to, you know, get done. Sometimes it's the weight of having to do a certain thing just feels too big. You know, another example is a client that I had yesterday has just had run a really successful conference, and came back, and there's this project that I've been wanting to have done with this client for, you know, a few weeks now, but this person's just super, super busy. And when we had our session yesterday, we normally catch up every single week, and there were just, this person's under the pump, and what I'm asking them to do is pretty big. So I just said, how about we meet in 2 weeks instead of a week? That's going to give you a little bit more time. I'll check in with you, make sure that you're on track. I'm here if you need me, and let's just keep you moving forward. And that was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I really do need 2 weeks. So sometimes as coaches, it's our job to be able to, you know, we have an agenda. I know for me, I love to catch up with my clients every single week, just because, you know, a lot can happen in 2 weeks and I want to be across everything every single week, and to make sure that they're on track and focused. And so if anything comes up that, like, you know, the conversation with the client that I asked to, you know, step back a little bit, I want to be able to get onto that stuff really, really quickly. Because, you know, if you catch up with a client, say on a Tuesday, and shit's hit the fan by Thursday, and then you don't see them till the following week, you know, that's, or 2 weeks after that, then, you know, a lot can happen. You know, people can spiral pretty quickly in that space. And so for me, it's like, I like to catch up every week. But, you know, it's okay for us to have our framework and our structure and the way that we like to do things, but we also have to really check in with our clients and make sure that, you know, what's going to be in the best interest for them right now. And for this particular client, it was giving them an extra week breathing space to get things done. But yeah, I just want to come back to that, you know, the original thing that I was talking about, which is the advice I gave a client who was under the pump, feeling overwhelmed, starting to get into that panicky phase, wanting to continue to push the agenda that we had when it really wasn't coming from a place of feeling aligned and inspired and excited about taking the action. It had tipped over into, I've got to get this done, I've got to get this done. And it sensed, you know, there was a sense of desperation there. So my advice was just to stop pushing, to step back, to have a look at what is a path of least resistance here, what feels good, what feels aligned, and then start taking action from there, even if it's one thing, but we just want to get into that space of moving forward again. And so if you're finding that you're pushing and nothing's happening the way that you want it to, if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed, if you're feeling like, you know, think you're never going to get there, or you're doing all this work and you're resenting the work because you're just not getting a return on investment, do the same thing. Stop, step back, stop pushing, step back. Have a think about, you know, go back into what is it that you really want? What is it that you're trying to achieve here? And then what is the path of least resistance right now? What is the thing that you can do right now that feels good and that is going to move you forward? Because we don't want to stay in stuck energy. The longer we stay in that stuck place, the harder it is to get out of it. And we want to continue to do that. So over the years and over the months and weeks or whatever, you want to get better at understanding resistance, feeling that, okay, I'm pushing here. How can I let go of the oars? What's downstream? What's the path of least resistance? After checking in with what it is that what's the big picture here? What are you trying to achieve? Path of least resistance, take some action, and you'll find yourself moving forward again. I wish you luck with that. Make sure you shoot me a message, or in the comments below, let me know if you've had this experience where you've been pushing and pushing and pushing, and there's that sense of desperation, and then at some point you've gone, you know what? I'm just gonna throw it up to the universe. I'm gonna go take a day off. I'm gonna just not think about my business for a day, for example. And then when the pressure's off, ease comes back into your day, and then you're moving along again. So I want to hear your examples of that if you've had them. I know for me that when I'm in that place of pushing and pushing and pushing, it's usually you know, it's a good thing in the beginning. It feels great. It's like, yeah, I feel like I want to hustle at the moment. I feel like, you know, I've got a lot of energy and I just want to push a little bit harder at the moment. I don't always feel like that. But then I can sometimes get into this trap of, well, I'm pushing and things aren't happening fast enough, and then it tips into a different energy. So I'm really aware of that these days, and I know that I need to step back and, you know, check in with my bigger vision again. What is it that I'm trying to achieve? You need to stop pushing. If you're pushing and it feels hard, that usually means that it's not an alignment. If it's not hard, if it's hard and it's not easy. For me, when I've had the greatest successes in my business or when it's felt easy, you know, when it's felt like I've been in flow, when I'm in my zone, when I always just know what to do next. And that's where you want to be. And the way to get there is to usually stop pushing, to step back, look at the big vision, ask yourself what's the path of least resistance, and start taking action from there. Anyway, have an amazing day, and I will be back tomorrow. Make sure that you also, if you're in the group, because this is streaming inside the group, make sure that you go to my business page as well, because my blogs are being posted on there, and I'm not putting them in the group. I'm just keeping the group for this sort of stuff, but also the other lives and little bits and pieces that I do that aren't on my business page. So if you're on my business page, you need to head inside my group, which is Secret Coaches Business, because there's lots of cool stuff going on in there as well. But my blog is on my main page. You can also go to Insta and check me out there, where I do a little bit more in my stories. If you're on my business page, you'll see that because it's hooked up. And I've also been playing with Pinterest over the last little bit. And if you head to my website, michellehex.com, and you go to michellehex.com/TV, all of my best YouTube videos are there on one page, so you can go check that out. Anyway, have an amazing day, and I'll be back tomorrow. Bye. I'm up to the gym.